Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Smith. I'm the head of adult services here at the Topsfield Town Library. Today, we're really excited to be able to chat with Doreen Burliss, who's the author of a couple of novels. We'll Always Have Nantucket, which I have one of the library's copies right here, and That Nantucket Summer, the newest one that just came out in July this year.
Yep.
Why don't you just tell a little about yourself to begin with?
All right. I'm from Boxford, and I was trying to think today when I was walking my dog when I wrote for the Tri-Town Transcript. I had a lifestyle column for 10 years. I think it was like 08, I think it was maybe my first column. And I just found that so thrilling to be able to write about lifestyle things that resonated with so many people. I would be out walking or running and people would pull over, like if they're on a bike. I'll never forget it. That column you wrote about your mom passing, that was so moving. I sent it to my sister and my brother, and it just was so exciting for me to every week sit down and write a column and to have it resonate with so many people. I had 3 young kids at the time, and yeah, it kept me going for like 8-9 years. And then it was like they were saying, yeah, my teacher read the column and they know I threw a hairbrush at breakfast. Yeah, no more of that, Mom. So that was, so it ran its course. It was great. But I also did news and features for the transcript, and I've covered events in here. I spent many a Monday night at Proctor covering the town government stuff. And, I was never thinking I'm going to be a novelist. But back to the column days, there was an email from somebody, and I wish I knew who it was. Somebody from Topsfield who wrote to me during that time, maybe 2011, 2012. You're such a great writer. I can't wait to read your book someday. And I'm like, that's not happening. It was this person. Because it wasn't even on my radar. I'd always, written. I have tons of journals, and Nantucket is especially special to my family. I've only been going there since, our first when we got engaged, I guess. So 1988, 89. And it was so moving. My family, we'd always done Maine. So it was never the Cape or Nantucket. So that was such a big, huge deal to me to go get on a boat with the truck and go and get a place. And just the history of that little place. Back in the 80s, it wasn't like it is now. It was not called the Billionaire's Playground, like that moniker that it has now. Such a bummer. I don't like any of that piece. And then so we've been married 34 years. We just celebrated our 34th anniversary, and in that time, so much has changed there. I mean, probably the Cape too, right? But it's just quaint is such an overused word, but historically, it's so preserved. The streets, the Main Street especially. Nantucket was the whaling capital of the world, and I just found so much pleasure in just learning about all of how it started, the Quakers and all of that stuff. So anyway, it always inspired me to write. So then coming back to just being a person and beyond the journals, I work with kids. I've worked within preschool for a long time. I used to teach handicap riding with my mom, she was Massachusetts Special Equestrian, Special Olympic director of the whole thing. She brought equestrian to the Special Olympics. So I always worked with kids with some special needs. And now, there's lots of kids integrated in the classroom, so that's how I got into that. So then fast forward to COVID, when they were letting go of a couple of TAs out of each of the classrooms, or one. That was me. Never thinking, but then I'm like, hey, let's just write my book. So it was 2020, 2021, and I remember the snowy days and just gathering my thoughts and remembering. We have 3 grown kids now, but they've been going since each of them was in my belly, and it means everything to them. So when you have something that means a lot to your kids, it takes on this much greater meaning for you. So I wrote that book, but some of the stuff was autobiographical in it. The Teddy, the lead character, was inspired by my daughter, who is actually only 23, not 28, but surfer, UC Berkeley, environmental scientist now. She just graduated a year ago. And she helped me with the surf scenes, even though I've surfed a little. She's the queen of it. So it was really thrilling to do that. And so I'm an indie writer. I'm an independent writer. I sent it out, queried agents. It takes a long time. You get rejections. You get requests for manuscripts. Then you get, that doesn't fit my list. And so that's frustrating. And I did all my studying. Like, who do you query? How do you know how to do that? Well, you go to who represents your genre. And I did that, but of course, then they're like, oh, we already have someone who's doing that, or not saying that, but maybe they only want one author in that, writing about Nantucket or the beach. So it's very hard. It's disconcerting. So I'm like, you know what? I don't want to wait, years to see if someone's going to take this. I'm do it. So I hired people to edit and print and get it out there. And the people on Nantucket were awesome. And come do a book signing. We'll carry your book. And lots of people around here. You reach out to libraries and shops, and you do the best you can. But still, it's a lot. It's a lot of work as a one-man show. So, but it was so exciting. And then I had like my nephew. Oh, Auntie Doreen, you have to get your second one out. I'm like, you're right, I do. So working. So now back to work after COVID. Now working in Boxford at Cole School as a pre-K. So at Hamilton Wenham it was a TA, teaching assistant. In Boxford they call them ESPs, extra support personnel. There are lots of little kids who need extra support. So there's no shortage of kids who need the help. So that's where I am now. So I work 9 to 1, and I come home, I spend an hour with the dog, walk him, play, and then I sit down to write at 3 o'clock, so from 3 to 6. So it's a full day. Sometimes I'm so tired, I'm like, no, I can't do it. 1,000 words a day is like my goal, or 3 hours, whichever comes first. So I'm on track for my third one. We'll also be set on Nantucket. You got to have a niche. I do so many other things too, like climb mountains. Like my brother's like, dude, Mount Washington. I'm like, okay. Like we do a lot of stuff, but you got to find your audience, and so I'm trying to build that.
Definitely.
And maybe when I'm famous, I can be able to write about anything I want. But so getting back to just a little bit about me. Been living in Boxford for 22 years. I lived in North Andover for my whole life. And even after marriage, we outgrew our place with the 3 kids. Came to Boxford, 6 acres, most of it's wet, but it's peaceful, and the kids used to hate it. Now they're like, I wish I lived there. I have 2 of my girls living in California today. One of them, well, it's time for the cardboard box. Gas, the cheapest gas is $5.59. So they're out there, and they're young, like paying rent and doing all that good stuff. But they came to appreciate Boxford. Topsfield is even a little bit more, has more going on than Boxford. We really have nothing. We really have nothing going on. So Topsfield is awesome. Tri-Town.
I don't know if we can edit that out of any Boxford streams of this going on here, but
yeah. So glad to have raised my kids in the Tri-Town. Do I want to stay here forever? As long as we're asking about Doreen. Billy wants to stay here forever. I think about actually leaving. It's hard. A lot of people go to Newburyport. I love the coast. I love Newburyport, but it's 20 minutes away.
Yeah. What
do we got to sell our house for to go live there? But I just want a second home. Like whether that's, I know Nantucket is a stretch now. Like the Cape, everything's untouchable. I would take it. But hey, guess what? Taxes are more here. Taxes are more here than on Nantucket. Yeah, no. So when I read some stories, oh, my parents left me this house, but we simply can't afford it. That's a lie. This is way more taxes here. I don't know about Topsfield. Are they on par? Anyone know?
On par for what?
Property taxes.
It's a little lower, but
You have more industry.
I know because Chicago, the taxes are outrageous.
They are.
A house in Color, north of Chicago, $32,000.
Wow.
This is tax. So
That is
mine is
crazy.
not. I have a big house, but mine is about $9 million. So I don't really know what it is, but yes, so for me, knowing what Chicago is doesn't seem as much.
Have you always lived in Topsfield? Did I miss that?
No, I live in Chicago.
Oh, that's what you said. So as like, did you raise your family here? Did you grow up? You grew up in Chicago. Okay, that's what I'm picturing.
I'm in my original house.
Oh, wow.
Which grew. There's an addition on it now, but
Perfect.
yeah. So, but I'm on my own in my house, so
Well, good for you.
I like
Yeah.
big house. some land. So it's actually very nice. And it's walking distance to town.
That is good, because you have a town, you have stuff to do and places to go to eat.
Well, sort of, but
More than we
someone's
have.
working on it.
Yeah.
Well, if we could back up a bit,
Yeah, so I was just like,
well, I don't know if I have any more questions to ask you, but one I guess would be to back up a little bit. What inspired you to start writing to begin with? Your career as a columnist for Tri-Town, stuff like that. What inspired you to start, and what explain like the transformation, I guess, from columnist to now novelist?
okay. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't the kid, I'm going to be a writer. I have all my little diaries from when I was in 4th grade. And so I guess it was always important to me to sort of document things and get them down, or not things, but things the way I felt about things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good. But I just noticed that I did that a lot. And then the funniest thing is I remember being at a college graduation and my cousin, my hick cousin from New Hampshire saying, "Haven't you heard of email?" I'm like, "What's that?" Like the fact that I didn't know about, anyway, so email, so typing out like letters to people, I just found this huge freedom with that. It's hard to explain, but I just, creative stuff would flow out of my fingers in that way more than, scratching it in a notebook or a pad or something, or diary. And I remember sending them to people and they're like, "Wow, you're just so prosy and you have this great way." And so a lot of times I would just picture that person, okay, I'm going to write, so say to Eliza, but like a story about something, or something about the kids, and I would email the family,
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Wow." And I just remember that specifically because I have a lot of those emails saved. I actually printed them and put them in a binder, and I would look back and say, "How did I come up with that?" And so that was really exciting. And then when I started writing columns, the very first thing, I remember. So my son was in the Spofford Pond Band, Boxford, and Andrea Monti, she was the director, and they did the most amazing things. They took the kid, they were so good, practice before school, 7:30, and we lived so close, I would actually hear them when they would be practicing for the Memorial Day parade. But so one of the things they did was the kids go to the Pawtucket Red Sox game, and they play out on the field. And it was so amazing to me. The year we went, I think it was Cody, because I had the 3 kids who all did it. It was a farm team of like the 04 winning Red Sox. And, Trot Nixon was there. Like, it was just, I was so wrapped up in it, but also in describing those kids out there. It was so moving to me to just see these kids. Like, I'll cry now. Like, they would practice, and they're out there on this field, this cool baseball field with these semi-pro guys, and they sounded so great. Remember, they would do tequila, like just these fun things, and Andrea just worked so well. Anyway, so I remember writing a little bit about it and sending it to her, and she wanted to pass it along to the PTO, or all the band parents. And I think she was the one who sent it to the Tri-Town. And I can't remember the editor's name. Dave? I can't remember, because there were so many editors in a short time. And I'm like, "Can I be a guest columnist?" And he's like, "Sure." So I would send him one a week, and I got my spot. And my column was called Long Story Short, because my dad always said that. And I remember thinking, oh, it's going to take me a lot to edit this down to, I think, 700 words I had. But I always had so much more to say.
Yeah.
But it was fun to me, the editing is the funnest part. Like having all that down and then just cutting it down to the bare bones and having it look really good and be really strong. But I had no shortage of material with 3 kids, different ages, like in 10 years. They were kind of spread out. So every week I would come up with something. And then, unfortunately, my big brother was dying earlier on in that career. And I remember writing about that, and just, it was cathartic for me, and I guess a lot of other people who've gone through that or have experienced a loss like that. It just helped me so much. I would just remember being in the back seat with my parents. I was a grown woman, going into the hospital to see him, and I was just writing about it. And it just helped me so much. And then 2 years later, my mom passed. Again, horrible. My kids were young. I didn't really have them to, it was hard to talk to them about it. But that was, I think, even more moving for people. That was when people would email me or stop me and say, "That was so moving. I sent it to my sister, my brother. It's on my refrigerator." So it just reminds me when I would watch soap operas with my mom and be like, why is it always a hospital? She's like, well, that's where there's just so much that happens and such big feelings. So, and then another very popular one, I just remember it very well, is called Dear Admissions Officer, when my oldest was applying to college. And that was, oh God, I don't even know, 2010, I think, probably. But, and he was just a regular kid, didn't love sports, wasn't a varsity athlete, did okay. But the first line of that column, do you have room for a regular kid? Something like that. And that resonated with so many people. Yeah. They still come up to me, like this one girl, Elaine LeBrun, I still have that in my drawer. That really helped me because, all these kids, like, how many AP classes do I take? How many honors classes? How's my kid ever going to get in? And it became ridiculous. Not as ridiculous as it is now. Like 13 years later, it's even way worse. Kids are depressed and stressed, and it's terrible. Back then, it was kind of a new thing to be so competitive applying to schools. But it made me it just was so invigorating to be able to put words to these things that a lot of people go through. So did columns for a while. Like I said, editors changed. The paper doesn't even exist anymore, right? I still can't believe that. And I just the kids got older, and I couldn't really write about their stuff anymore. It was their stuff. They were teenagers. And then I really switched it over to features, and that was really fun. I did a lot of the photography for the paper too, covered school events, and I always loved that. And the town government, that was a lot, because I was teaching at the time, and go there at night and be writing all the stuff and recording it and be like, I hated that. Like, that took me so long to write half the column length, but to get the town government stuff in there, it took me forever. It wasn't like my prose. Yeah. So then there was a time in between where I wasn't doing any like that, and then it was COVID. So I don't even know how many years, a few. 3, 4. 3. Oh, that's so cute. And then, so I hadn't been writing, and I must have just subconsciously really missed that, because it's just like with composing a book now, you sit down and things just, I feel like a conduit sometimes. Not like it's some mystical, magical thing. I do have to think about stuff and kind of map things out. But I don't have this plot, this outline, like some writers are really detailed in their planning and pre-writing. That's not true for me. And the best book I ever wrote on writing was from Stephen King, and I don't read him because I don't like that genre. I've read a few that aren't horror, but the best book I ever wrote on writing was from him, and he says similar things, like he feels like a conduit. And it's funny how he always says less is more. Look at the size of his book. That's the thing I took away from his book was, cut out the extra stuff. Don't get married to the stuff that's, don't be indulgent, which is just so interesting because his books are crazy. But like him, I just feel like things do come to me. So, my first book, I'm like, okay, I have all this stuff that I feel and experience as, as a parent, and the special place that we have, which everyone has on Nantucket, wherever it is, even if it's a cabin, what do people call them, a camp on a lake, doesn't matter what it is. You have a special place, hopefully that, you take your family that you grew up going to, whether it was a weekend, a couple days a week, the summer. Everyone has that place, I think, that moves them from when they were a kid. And then when you're raising kids, like I said, it becomes even more meaningful. But so I just found story building, and it just carries you. And I start to see the characters. I can picture them perfectly. So then I'm like, oh, well, you can picture them, but now you have to describe them and make them real for your reader. Yeah. And that goes for the place, the cottage, the house, the beach, the shops. And I know a lot of people who read my Nantucket books love them because those places are all 100% real, and they love to be taken there. But, there are a lot of, like Ellen Hildebrand, she has a lot of fans in the Midwest who've never been to the island or even the East Coast. But they just really feel swept away, and they love that. So that always surprises me. I really like reading about places I've been to. So that's another thing with Nantucket. The first thing we would do, my girls now, currently in their 20s, we go there and they want stories on Nantucket. They want books set on Nantucket. They want romances set on Nantucket. And I still look for that. I got my Ellen, my Nancy Thayer, but it was never enough for me. I'm like, I need another one. So that's why I'm like, I can be that other person. Ellen's retiring. She has one more summer book. Nancy's in her 80s. she's still kicking them out, but who knows. But I would love to be that person to keep those Nantucket stories going, because I have so much to say. And not as a resident, like they live there, but as a visitor, as a summer visitor, which I think maybe would resonate with maybe more people, because most of us only get to visit it. We don't get to live there. So, and this one was from like a newbie perspective. Like my leading lady there was going there for the first time. And then my brother, he wrote one of my best reviews, just to me, but you somehow have managed to see it through new eyes, even though you've been going there for 34 years.
Definitely.
So that was fun for me. Just a little side note. So this picture, my nephew took this photo. It is, so I had a vision. I said, so it's supposed to be like old-fashioned-y looking, and so it opens up with, I'll read the first, can I read the first page?
Absolutely.
Because it is built, I did lose my dad the summer before I wrote this, and that was a lot. And this looks just like my dad as a young guy. But yeah, I'll read the first little bit. Nick stood rooted on watery legs in the walk-in closet, holding a fat roll of plastic bags about to turn decades of her dad's precisely collected and strictly organized wardrobe into piles for the Salvation Army. I can do this, she said to all those silent versions of her father, fingering the flannels on down the line. What we keep means more than what we let go. She wondered how much of this ache she'd predicted and how much of it was a black surprise. The quiet pounded. She grabbed her phone and chose an indie rock playlist. The last thing she needed filling the space was the nostalgia of Seals and Croft or Jim Croce from childhood car rides, with her parents up front keeping them safe and headed in the right direction. She set her phone on the shelf of hats, so many hats, and turned to face the measured rows of wooden hangers displaying a lifetime of phases and moods, the cast of characters her dad allowed himself. Before she removed the first shirt from its hanger, she tried to make sense of her dad's order. Dress shirts, casual shirts, plaids, flannels, and then the parade of chambrays. When had he started ordering from steel and carbon to cobalt? So cute. And then there were the things from the decades with her mom. It was like losing her all over again. Tears welled and her throat throbbed. Nick would never see him wearing any of these things again. She would never see him again. And no one would ever regard her with the same sense of awe as her father. It was unseasonably warm for late May, and the central air goosebumped her bare arms, so she slid a worn LL Bean flannel from her mom's era off its hanger and onto her body. A hug from another lifetime. She carefully unbuttoned the top button of the first shirt, folded it crisply before laying it at the bottom of the giant clear plastic bag. The ones she had no memory of him in were easier, some pressed, just back from the cleaners. But the ones that still smelled like him undid her. She hugged them, breathed them in, and whispered, "I love you, Dad," with each tender fold. The tender ballast of all the years landed at once, both parents gone now. With her heart tripping over its next beat, she felt childlike, a kite cut from its spool. She kept his suits from the courtroom days in their garment bags, folded ties in half, and his khakis in thirds. When in the wild world did he get skinny jeans? Oh, sweet Jesus. Those had to be a gift from Tina, her father's first girlfriend after her mother died, trying to young him up, get him closer to her ridiculous age. Gino Tucci had been too charming for his own good. This was too good not to document in Snapchat to her siblings and grown children. "Can you picture Papa in these?" she captioned it. Laughing felt so deeply good. Oh, the way his shoes still held the form of his feet, that familiar size and strength, the command he reined from his size 14s. Nick thought of all the places those shoes had taken him with her mother and siblings, the miles covered, the mountains climbed, with each child getting a turn on his back over the years, the sports fields run as a notable athlete, the country roads traipsed in Great Britain during her semester abroad, the city streets of France, Spain, and finally Italy. And how those steps always brought him back home, the place he treasured above all, his own backyard, where he planted, weeded, watered, mowed, raked, and built things, cultivating a life for his family. How does anyone bear when it ends, the disassembling? So that was a true, absolutely real experience. I had 4 brothers, so now I have 3 remaining. So Michael and I, who's loosely based on Enzo in the book, did the lion's share of it. Mark would come in, but that was my day, my job to do the clothes in the closet. So I remember begrudging, thinking, well, Michael, I won't get to do any writing if we have to deal with the house. I felt like such a jerk saying that, even thinking it. But you know what? It was all in there anyway. It was all just part of me and part of maybe, what I was going to write. I didn't know I was going to use that and that it would move me enough to do that. But a lot of this, the beginning anyway, the letters I have in here are exactly my dad's letters. Like we go through the hope chest, the box of letters, stacks of letters that were all from him to my mom. So they were truly a couple from when they were 13 years old, as is this couple. And so all the letters were for him to her. I'm like, oh, that's because he didn't save hers. I was thinking, of course he didn't. What guy's going to be tying them all up in a red ribbon? So all those letters, and I didn't read a lot, but I remember sitting up in my daughter's room. She had moved to California. I'm like, okay, this is my writing space. Yeah. And I took out some of the letters, and he did a post-grad year. She went to college, and reading some of their heartbreak, their 19-year-old selves, 18, 19-year-old selves coming up at me from the page, and a lot of things I didn't know. And because, he was a Navy man, but in this, he's like, I didn't get into the Navy. I didn't pass the exam. And I'm like, Michael, what's this? Actually, I didn't tell Michael. I waited for him to read it in the book. I didn't want to spoil too much. But so they went through stuff. But from then on, it's fiction. I made a story after that. But they were together since they were like 13, 14 years old. Anyway, so I talked to my nephew, Anthony. He went to Harvard. He's 25, lives in California, trying to make it in the film biz. He's in LA. And I'm like, Anthony, I have an image of what I want my cover to be. And I said, I want, a couple black and white, old style kind of clothes. And that's what he came up with. And of course, I'm like, it has to look like Nantucket. So there was a mountain range here because it was LA. I'm like, you need to, make her hair a little longer, Photoshop out the mountains. But everyone is asking me, is that your dad? Is that your dad? Because it looks a lot like my dad. But this is Henry and Emma, a real couple. They're friends of Anthony's, my nephew. But every time I look at it, I kind of see my dad. Doesn't really resemble my mom. But anyway, I don't even remember your question.
Well, I really think you kind of hit home sort of like how much you like as a writer you take from your real life. And I mean, because the question was like what convinced you to make the jump to novelist? And
it wasn't a conscious thing.
And I know you hit on that. Some of your characters are biographical to an extent as well. Although I would like to meet your archetype for Val in real life. Is there one?
She's so real. She's Lisa. And did you read this book, the first one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Val and Sadie in the first book, they're besties since they kind of ran into each other on Nantucket. So I'll go into this. So this piece of that story is so true. So loosely Sadie, me, Val, Lisa. So I don't want to confuse anyone. So Val, her dad and Sadie's husband, who's older, so Billy's older than I am, so based on their friendship, were kind of best buddies. Yeah. So Sadie's dad knew Val as a kid. But Val and Sadie are like 5 years apart, so when you're a kid, that's a lot. You're not in school together. Yeah. And the real truth is, I'll say Lisa and Doreen, but so Lisa as Val, she actually had my mother as a swimming teacher at the Y in Andover. Like, we both grew up going to the Y, volunteering, teaching. Like, that was fascinating. Yeah. That's what we did. And when my mom passed, she actually sent me a Facebook message, but I didn't recognize the name, and she was no longer on Facebook, so I didn't really. All right, hold on. So we're on Nantucket 4 years ago. And I'm with my brother's son. She knew my brother, who was closer in her age. My brother's name was Michael. The same Michael I've been telling you. His son, Jonathan, looks a lot like him. So we're at Cisco Brewery, which is just a very happening live beer garden. That's all the rage now. And she's there, and she goes up to Jonathan. She's like, Michael, you haven't changed a bit. Because he's my father. Yeah. So then Jonathan's like, I'm with him, my Uncle Billy. She's like, Billy! Because, of course, she knew him as her dad's best buddy. And her dad, unfortunately, passed in his 50s, so he'd been gone 15 years. Wow. Okay. Anyway, so she goes up to Billy, and she's like, I've been looking for you in the phone book. I knew you guys spent time here. We now have a place here because her husband is a construction company that does some marine work. Okay. So Billy's like, yeah, you wouldn't find us. We rent. We don't own here. You wouldn't see us on the phone book. She's like, oh, wow. Well, yeah, we bought a house we're out in Tom Nevers. And Billy's like, yeah, we're in Tom Nevers. We've been there 30 years. She's like, oh, really? Because we're on Wood Hollow. This is all in the book. And Billy's like, we're on Wood Hollow. She's like, oh, we're 13. We're 11. Shit, she's next door.
Yeah.
And you would never see that because of the scrub oak between all the homes. I mean, it's very all moors. Homes are spread out. It's beautiful and peaceful. It's not like in town or the coast, like on the beach. So ever since that moment, our families have been inseparable.
Yeah. That's
inseparable.
funny.
I mean, that part is totally real. And of course, Val and Sadie have a scene in here.
I was good. Yeah, they made a little cameo.
Yes. Yes. And it was funny because she would call me one day and I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. She's like, oh, get the funnel in there, the beer funnel. Because our sons did a beer funnel. And that's not what you think of when you think of Nantucket. You think of the rosé and, kids drinking beer. But so I'm like, that gave me that beach scene. And then, of course, you always end up at the brewery when you're with Val. But yeah, Val, Sean, you would love to meet her. We look like a little bit like twins. She's Italian. We have dark hair, dark skin. But she brings a new tank top every year to Nantucket. The first one was, that sounds like a terrible idea. Hold my drink. And the other one was, you had me at day drinking. So a lot of that fun comes out.
Yeah, it was just one of those characters that just
That's
jumped
awesome.
off the like stole the scene every time she was there. So it was
That was awesome.
And I know in your new one you describe or you compare Lexi and Val and you say Val is Lexi on steroids. Yeah.
And that's why I picked up the phone to Lisa. I'm like, you know what, dude? Every time I'm going to write characters, there's going to be a little bit of Val.
Yeah.
Because it's like the mouthy, the swearing a little bit, and the rough. So I'm trying to, steer away from that a little bit this time if it offends people.
Well, I mean, personally, I was it was just one of those characters that's just it kind of made kind of the book for me a little bit.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Just because it in a lot of similar books like this, you're not really kind of seeing that that type of character, and it was kind of refreshing.
I'm so glad to hear that because I never know if it's going to offend some people. Some people don't like that because she is rough and she does swear a lot, but that's what her dialogue was so easy to write because I heard every second of it, and so it is it's great when you get that inspiration and you can really hear it. But yeah, she was real. So it's harder to create someone. It's harder to just make that up because then you think, is this dialogue genuine?
Yeah.
But that was...
It's not a problem when you have someone in mind. Yeah.
We coined shitballs, I think. But yeah, so to answer your question, she's very real. So cool. So yeah, sometimes when I'm in a restaurant, we're on Nantucket, I'll try to take a few surreptitious photos of families just to try to think outside of my people. I can't always write about people I know in my orbit. But if I really sit down and think about it, stuff and people, they come to me. It's clear as day. I have very vivid dreams. I don't know if anyone else does. My one daughter, the inspiration for Teddy, she has them too, and she's creative. I don't know if that's part of it, but I could describe these people to a T, even though I've never seen them. And so that helps in writing. But you really have to sit and listen to yourself and not I sometimes how am I ever going to get there? I have to say, you only have 1,000 words to get there today. When I'm climbing a mountain, and it's hard now. I'm 58. But a 9-hour hike, it's one step at a time. It's literally just one foot in front of the other, and then in a few hours you're there. But the same is true with a book or probably anything you do in life. It's just one step at a time, one sentence at a time. Today I had a busy day, I knew I was coming here, and I didn't have the time to do my full 1,000 words. So I'm okay, you're getting 400, that's fine. Just do it, sit down and do it. You have to be very disciplined. So I need enough time to have better proofreading and edits and get it all done even sooner. So it doesn't come out in July, but June, it's a lot. And I'm learning with each project how much more I have to do. And do you write? Have you a library guy?
Not really. Not really.
Some people are big readers, but don't write at all. Some are both.
Yeah, no, I haven't really had that opportunity to write. I don't know if I can tell a story as good as you can either.
But like, I never thought I would be a storyteller. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I never thought I was a storyteller. So don't sell yourself short if it's something that you like to do. Like, I mean, I just liked having words come together in this way that was like, wow. Which isn't always easy, but when it happens, it's so fun.
Well, let me ask you, what authors have inspired you? I know, like, for example, you mentioned Nancy Thayer, Ellen Hildebrand. I know in your first novel, there's a couple hat tips to Ellen Hildebrand as well.
Just because I've read every book as she's written them, just because my love of Nantucket. And then I remember seeing her sitting out there when she was no one. Yeah. And no one was in line to buy her books. And I would read every one. I just loved her sense of place. I'm not saying, oh, she's a literary queen that and she's kind of snubbed me, to be honest, since we used to exchange messages. I used to say, oh, this. She's like, oh, just don't give up, finish a project. Since I put my first book out, complete ignore, which I didn't think that was very nice. And my books are sitting there next to her. I have signings in between her. Yeah. So that's kind of a huge bummer for me. Yeah. But writers I love, one of the first writers that I just realized I really love, Elizabeth Berg. Did either of you read her? I mean, her descriptions, she was the first person who I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in that sentence, in that feeling. Yeah. And so I've read every single thing of hers, at least more than once. Also, Elizabeth Stroud, I've read everything that she's ever written. Marissa de los Santos, she also has just a way with words. Everything by Laura Dave. Have you ever?
Oh, yeah.
And this summer I've been cranking on Emily Henry.
Yeah.
At first I was like, this might be kind of YA for me, just because she's younger. She's 30. She writes about 30s. But she's so clever and witty and just razor sharp. Yeah. So I really enjoyed her. I just cranked out on all her books. Let's see. I always get lost when people ask me this question, but when I find a writer, I'll read everything they've written. I've read a lot of debuts this year. One, Pineapple Street.
Jackson, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of like, okay, 1%. Like, that was very how the 1% lives. And I was like, all right. And you live on your Fruit Street, and she actually lives on the Fruit Street. She goes in. I didn't even know what that was in New York. I'm not a big New York person, so. Yeah. And then, but she also comes from an agency and a publishing. So I'm like, being bratty. Well, of course you got your manuscript read and accepted, So, I mean, it was okay. It was some funny moments, but I was like, really? So sometimes I get to a debut and it's like, who'd you know?
Yeah, bittersweet almost.
It's like there's a lot of books that I think aren't great that I'm like, why are these, being agented and put out there by the big publishing houses, Like, I mean, Brenda Novak, she's okay.
So do you think it's sort of like an issue where there's just like an issue of access, where some people just have like access? I definitely
do. I mean, I'm not saying that's true across the board.
Yeah. But
I, just like I said, reading Jackson's thing, I'm like, oh, she worked for a literary agency. Okay, so she has some ins. I mean, and people will tell you, oh, unless you know someone, and just think of the slush pile. Just think of how many people think they're great writers. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm any different, but they're flooded. And how does your thing? It's not even a beautiful book. It's just digital file. Yeah. I want to go and send my pretty books to everyone and be like, it's not just pretty, it's good. But no, it's really hard to get read,
definitely
to get them to even acknowledge it without someone saying, oh, I know someone, they're going to send you something, because that happens. And so it's really hard. It gets discouraging, but I can handle discouragement. I just do not want to spend years doing that. Like, this way I'm getting out a book a summer, people are reading them. I don't have that push of the big publishing houses, unfortunately. I can't get myself in all, but I put my books in my car and I drive to the Cape and I drive around, and I'm in like 17 shops anyway, and climbing, and you do your Amazon thing, and it's just a huge learning curve as far as advertising and social media. So I tried TikTok. Yeah, guess what? There's no 50-somethings really on TikTok. Except those guys are like, hello, beautiful. I'm like, no, I'm here to sell my book. What is going on with that? So like, everyone's like, oh, TikTok, that's where BookTok, that's where you're going to sell your book now. So I gave it a month of following all the rules, they say, use a trending sound. It's usually a song, but a trending sound, the trending, video clip, the style, and, they do this, something like this. They talk, and then they put the book down, and then there's some effects. It's like, okay, so I tried all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the algorithm, they block you out at 200. I'm not getting a lot of views.
Yeah.
Just random people, hey. And I'm like, that's not what I'm doing this for.
Yeah,
so I
definitely.
gave it a try. Maybe I'll try again, but I don't really think it's for Gen Xers. No, am I Gen Z or Gen X? Gen X. I think it's a lot of fantasy and YA and thriller stuff. But to go through it and try to watch and to try to participate, to not have it be a one-way street, I'm like, I can't do this. People are like,
It's like a full-time job in itself.
No. So yeah, you try to commit a little time, so you're learning that social media platform, but I'm not really a fan. Instagram I'm trying to build, but it's not easy, I mean, I think that we're inundated.
Yeah.
My kids are like, if any of us are doing this, they're like, doom scroll, doom scroll, doom scroll, and it's terrible.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Well, all my kids are like, Mom, we wish we grew up in the 80s. Because like for me, I graduated high school in the 80s, graduated college in the 80s, and got married in the 80s. The 80s is my jam. Even though I was born in 65 and 70s as a little kid, but especially my youngest, she's like, yeah, you don't know how good you had it without all of this. The pressure of, and now with the location stuff on Snapchat, oh great, my whole friend group is here at Benson's, but I didn't get the invite just because they're looking at some geographical pinpoint thing, like terrible things for kids.
Yeah, I'm happy I'm not involved in that as well. I do. It's funny that you mentioned thriller, because in your first book there was a little bit. It seemed like you could have gone like heisty thriller for a second there, because there was that little subplot. Was that ever a consideration, or was that just you kind of playing around? Or
it wasn't. And Kirkus Review said it was a bit episodic, and I was mad at that. But I was like, they're right. I feel like I had to have something, so it was kind of the heist. I kind of wanted to just have something else in there.
Yeah.
So when they said it seemed episodic, it's Kirkus Reviews. What are you gonna do? Argue with them? But But I feel like everyone wants that. I have a lot of friends my age who are like, they want thrillers, mysteries.
Yeah.
But I think any, the whole Dragon Tattoo series, okay, I read all those, not my genre at all, but I devoured those. I remember being at work early and be like, so what would you call that genre?
Like a suspense thriller.
Okay.
And I mean, they're having a moment right now, kind of, where a lot of those. I always say to people here when they come in that I feel like there was kind of almost knockoffs, not knockoffs, but there was the success of Gone Girl, which I think when it came out was just really kind of unlike anything that had, around that time. It was kind of fresh and different. And I feel like there's a lot of psychological thrillers now that the twist you didn't see coming,
right?
And to out-twist yourself now, it gets more and more ridiculous, where it's just the twist you never saw coming, because who would see this coming, because this makes no sense.
Right. I want my stuff to be at least believable.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be so outlandish, and I do not want stuff to be predictable, especially with the romance piece. And by the way, when I was asking about genre, I'm like, there is a romantic thread in almost everything you read, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So I hate saying, these are romances, although it's the most popular genre. So I should not want to say that. But anyway, I felt with that I had to have that little bit.
Okay, yeah.
But with this one, there's also a mystery that has to be sort of solved.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow, puzzle piece almost,
right,
in terms of trying to figure out what exactly happened. And then it really unravel. Yeah.
I mean, and that's not easy, because none of that was real, of course.
Yeah.
But I always, when I'm writing, I try to think, okay, what do I like as a reader? I definitely don't want predictable. Yeah. I don't want to know right away, she's going to end up with him. I don't care what other crap they go through to get there. I don't want to, so I don't want that. And I want it to be at least relatable.
Definitely.
I don't want it to be so crazy. That is such a crazy coincidence. That would never happen. Some stuff, I'm they're just tying it all in together like a nice little bow. I'm like, no. What about you guys? When you're reading, how do you feel about that? We'll start with you.
Who's going to end? Is that who's going to? I just read that lady from The View, Sunny.
Yes.
I picked out one of her books, the one about Martha's Vineyard. Did you read that?
I don't think I did, but do you remember the name?
First, On the Bluffs or something.
Okay.
And the first one about the vineyard is really good. The second one, Sage Harbor, which was on Long Island.
Okay.
I didn't like it as much, but I kept reading it. I was in like 250 pages.
What made you keep reading it?
Because I loved her first one, and I had to know
how it ended.
Say, is she going to end up with him or him?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's why I kept reading it. What you were saying, like
Yep.
I don't really want to know who's going to, you know.
You don't want to predict. You don't want to.
I liked her first book about the Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
But the second one. And I actually paid full price for that book too. This one I saw on sale, it was like $7, and I thought, oh, I can read this on the cake this summer, and I loved it. It was worth every penny. The second one, I'm thinking, why did I should have gone to the library and got this one?
You should always go to the library, though.
What about you?
My favorite authors, like I do have every one of Ellen's books.
Yeah.
Do you read Ellen?
I've read some of them, but I like historical fiction.
Yes.
So Marie Benedict.
Okay.
We read,
What
I'm
romance?
in the book club for the Council on Aging, and we read 5 of her books.
Marie Benedict. What's one title?
Quick, just intercession. Marie Benedict, author talk coming up
I'll have to
on
come.
October 4th. It's virtual,
Okay.
but you can sign up.
Zoom link at the Council on
Okay.
Aging.
What's one title of hers?
Oh, a personal librarian.
Okay.
This is about J.P. Morgan
Okay.
Library in New York. And we actually tried to get a trip to go there. It's just the time of the year it didn't work out, but we're going to try again next year. But we just love. It's about a woman that she actually has another author with her, a black woman, because it's a woman that passed as her wife, and nobody's addressed it until the very end. So, and she actually took over the library when he died, and she got all these Christian manuscripts.
Wow.
It's sort of not a mystery, but it's just so intriguing. The way she writes is so intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she wrote one about the mystery of Mrs. Christie.
Okay.
And she disappeared for 10 days.
Oh.
It's also a movie, so we actually got the movie as well.
Okay, yeah.
So we do a lot of
That's
sort
fun.
of interactive.
Also, Barbara Kingsolver is another favorite.
Demon Copperhead, one of the
Just
best
finished.
books I've read in a long time. Excellent book.
Yeah, because I remember reading Poisonwood Bible. My aunt, a writer.
Yeah.
You got to read that. I'm like, okay, it was kind of weird for me, but my younger daughter loved it. But Demon, I liked, and then of course I read Trust right after that, which both
Pulitzer
Prize
yeah.
winners. But like, I'm reading Trust. I'm like, this is not my wheelhouse at all. The whole financial district. But I finished it, and I'm glad I read it.
And I mean that one because it's a little bit experimental with structure as well.
Yeah.
And, I mean I like them both, but in particular Demon Copperhead was just
Amazing.
killer. Yeah.
Like, how does she do that?
Some people just have the gift, It's
So
it's
she's definitely one that will
unbelievable.
be on my list.
Yeah.
Probably read everything that she's written too.
One other question I really wanted to ask you is, I kind of wanted to know about your research process because in both books, it's almost like a encyclopedia article on like the history. It's like I'm learning the history of Nantucket.
I'm so glad.
It was unbelievable. But also, I've talked to a couple different people about your first book, and they talked about the, in particular, there's one near drowning scene where like a couple different people have said
That's
how
real.
realistic.
Was it real? One of your daughters?
I mean, I have been in a position with the youngest where we were caught in a rip. It's so common out there. And I remember, she's never been in a surfing accident like that, and it was hard for me to write it. But when she was little, we were getting sucked in, drawn out, and I would go under and hold her up so she could breathe. And then you're not even that far from shore. And everyone's looking at you. And I was like, what are we going to do? So it happened twice. And some guy literally said, threw his boogie board. But you're just supposed to relax and just go swim parallel with the tide. So that, from experience, I was also a lifeguard for a long time, and I taught swimming lessons for a long time, so I knew all that. But yeah, you Google stuff too, to be current with, the language of what's actually happening physically when you don't have air. So yeah, you do that research. But the history, it's funny. As a young bride, I was like 24, and one of the first books I bought on Nantucket was that Mary Coffin history. I can't remember the whole title of it, but it was like someone typed it up and drew a map. It was looked like it was typed at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
It was that, but I was just devouring it. I wanted to know. Like when someone said, oh, the cobblestones, those were used as ballast on the whale ship. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I was eating that stuff up. And just the 3 bricks. And, well, what happens, we know one of the Stevens family in North Andover, and they own one of them. I'm like, what, Kathy? She's like the simplest woman. Like, and then the Hadwin house, I toured all those places. And the oldest house, of course, we've been there a million times. So funny story, my daughter, Maddie, who's 26, she reads this one, she's like, oh, I want to go to the oldest house. I'm like, you used to hate me when I would drag you to all these historical sites. They would be like, are you kidding me, Mom? Now she's like, can we go? I'm not really paying $20 to go in, Maddie. But we'll go. It's like we don't have a lot of time. They're there. Like, I was so lucky to have my 3 adult children there for 10 days of our 2 weeks, and that meant everything to us. So we don't have time to do all, but it's so funny. She, growing up, knowing how much I loved that and taking her there, was like, oh, and I want to see this, and I want to see that. And like just Old South Wharf, they were shanties, they were artist shanties, like that was real. Yeah, I Googled some articles. Yeah. But we go to Slip 14, you see all the yachts parked there now, but those were working wharves. And what I really want people, because from Ellen, you just get all the glamour. Like, she's a diva, that's her thing. It's not my thing at all. I like the way I think of it when I first saw it, and even when I didn't know it. Like, Mr. Rogers, when he was there, we weren't even there that early. Billy, the reason we ever went was he was at a wedding in 1972, this little tiny courtyard by the Jared Coffin house. You went to a wedding, and then you didn't go back again until you took me. Right. You just said, oh, I have a nice place I think you'd like. And first of all, getting on a boat to go 30 miles out to sea, that was amazing to me. I was so excited. Like I said, we'd ever only done Maine, my family, or Crane Beach.
Like your brother said in your newest one, you did an excellent job, like, because I have never been to Nantucket too, so it was like kind of, it was, I almost wish I read your second book first, because it would have been like the introduction, like the introduction for me, being like, I hadn't been there, and like seeing it for the first time, being like, here are the cobblestone streets, and getting like that full history tour. It was like, it gets you attached to the setting, I feel like.
And if you ever go there, you'll be like, oh my God, it's real. Yeah. Because to me, that's what's so amazing. Have you been? Yeah, you've been. Have you been to Nantucket? A lot, okay, good. And it's just so unique. Like, I've been to Martha's Vineyard just briefly as a teenager. I rode my bike for the day or whatever, but I kind of want to go back and maybe write a book that's part Martha's Vineyard, part Nantucket. I don't know, but I don't know anything about it other than it doesn't feel like Nantucket. It doesn't feel that small, right? It's big. You don't have that same vibe, from what I've heard.
Martha's Vineyard has more towns.
Yeah, the little villages. We call them Nantucket, like neighborhoods. So Squam, Pocomo. Yeah, so it's more nightlife for kids, I hear. Whereas my kids used to complain about there not being enough to do when they were. Oh, okay.
I don't even have that on maps anymore.
Oh, really?
No. I have an old map and it's on there. And then I always go to that restaurant. I have a mudslide upstairs and look to watch the ferry go back and forth to Chappie. The restaurant, it's right there. It's been there forever. But the food's decent, and the upstairs deck is beautiful because you're looking out at Chappie and the ferry. And I've actually taken the ferry. It's $3 to go over, then I'll hang around there for 30 minutes, walk a little bit, and then just take it back. So
it's just a different vibe. Like on Nantucket, there are no traffic lights, no chains.
Nantucket is more snobby.
I mean, and I just hate to hear that, but yeah, look what it's become.
It is. I just Googled it. I read something just the other day, it's the most expensive place to vacation.
No kidding. And when National Geographic, dubs it, the best vacation place in the world, like, what are you guys doing? Stop doing that.
It's really,
Stop. Like, it's New England. It's crappy weather half the time. What are people doing? Building these $35 million estates, and then they're all for sale. Like, the greatest thing is, though, like Tom Nevers, where we stay, little dotted with homes so that you can see moors. And I remember looking in the newspaper, and this $35 million estate with pools and it's in there somewhere you can't even tell. It's so weird. It's not like they're like.
Really nice little shoebox we stay at.
We stay in Hodgepodge Lodge. It's a 3/4 cape, and we couldn't love it more.
Yeah.
With the grass, it's not even grass because
New
there's.
England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I love including the history piece because, like, even my own kids have been going there their entire lives. They're like, oh, they see it through new eyes because when they go, all they hear about, or the kids would come out with the sweatshirts, or now the tire covers Cisco. They would get so mad. No, that's our island. But I love that, and there's so much more history that I could include. I gotta figure a way to weave it into everyone, so I'm not repeating myself.
Yeah, it was really.
I'm so glad you appreciated that.
Oh, it was really fascinating, and I've also, one other thing was a lot of talk about, like, and I know you mentioned that you have a daughter that's an environmental scientist. In both your books, though, you talk a lot about, like, climate change and, like, the science behind it and stuff like that.
And I want that to be educational.
And I felt like that was a decent amount of research and stuff that went into being able to write about that as well.
Definitely. And when she was still at Berkeley then, thinking about what she wanted to do. And I'm like, looking at him like, Ryder, I don't know what you're going to do for a job. None of this sounds like what you want. I mean, she really wanted marine bio, but everyone's like, no, there's no money in that. There's not enough jobs. So she's 23. She just graduated, and she is an environmental science, but it's entry level. So she does, like, when she has to go and count dolphins when they're doing some pile driving, it's boring stuff right now. She's entry level. These kids today, what are you going to do? Be a project manager? But I remember researching all of those jobs and stuff, and like, dude, this doesn't make as much as you think it's gonna make, but you do Google, and that stuff changes every day.
Yeah.
The environmental piece, but of course, on a little island like Nantucket, you have to be thinking about that, or it's gonna disappear. I mean,
you got to think about it from, like, the erosion from, like, those $35 million houses getting closer and closer to the sea, but also
what kind of footprint are they beleaguering the whole island with?
the mention of the sharks as well.
Oh yeah, it's real.
Which I know that was, like, a bit, like, them coming closer to the Cape and stuff as well has been a big news story around here.
Yeah.
And
that's all climate change.
Yeah, for a couple of years. So, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Do you guys have any questions? I've been yammering away.
Well, I thought your family, the way you wrote about your family for the Tri-Town was fascinating. I read everything you wrote.
Oh, thank you.
And I just thought it was fantastic. So as soon as I saw your book with Gilly, of course, I immediately bought the first one because I thought it would be about your family life. And I guess it is a little bit now that I've talked about it, but it wasn't what I expected. But it was a good book. So
Yeah, this would be more about
I
parents.
would enjoy the second one.
Yeah. Well, I have some. You want to buy one?
Okay.
I definitely brought some. Do you have any questions at all?
No,
So glad you guys came out.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out, and
Thank you, Sean. Great.
like, hopefully we'll see you all around.
Yeah. It's great that you have these programs. Awesome.